Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So today, if you don't know what we're talking about, it is this lovely book right here, Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. So this book is interesting, and I think I've said this in the short that I posted yesterday, talking about, getting this book and everything. I read this in 2 days. If I did not have work and school to do, I would have probably read it in one sitting, but that's not how life is. I gotta pay bills. But I'll be starting this video off with a spoiler-free review, and then I'm gonna go into a spoiler review because I do have so many thoughts on this. But to start off my spoiler-free review, I will be reading the synopsis on Goodreads because if you have watched any of my previous videos before, you know that I am not good at relaying a plot, babe. I'm really not. But anywho, the synopsis states, authors June Hayward and Athena Liu, and please, I am probably not pronouncing some of the names correctly, and I do apologize beforehand for that. Authors June Hayward and Athena Liu were supposed to be twin rising stars, same year at Yale, same debut year in publishing. But Athena's a cross-genre literary darling, and June didn't even get a paperback release. Nobody wants stories about basic white girls, June thinks. So when June witnesses Athena's death in a freak accident, she acts on impulse. She steals Athena's just-finished masterpiece, an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers to the British and French war efforts during World War I. So what if June edits Athena's novel and sends it to her agent as her own work? So what if she lets her new publisher rebrand her as Juniper Song, complete with an ambiguously ethnic author photo? Doesn't this piece of history deserve to be told, whoever the teller? That's what June claims, and the New York Times bestseller list seems to agree. But June can't get away from Athena's shadow, and emerging evidence threatens to bring June's stolen success down around her. As June races to protect her secret, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. With its totally immersive first-person voice, Yellowface takes on questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, not only in the publishing industry, but the persistent erasure of Asian American voices and history by Western white society. R.F. Kuang's novel is timely, razor-sharp, and eminently readable. So, for my spoiler-free review, I will absolutely say that if you are someone who is aspiring to be in the publishing industry or currently in the publishing industry, the book might make a lot more sense and is definitely a lot more relevant to you, because as I'm reading the book, I can definitely get the feel of, oh, this is definitely an inside thing for public. Do something that's in a specific niche, like for instance, play basketball or play paintball or do coding, and you read a book where the surroundings are like a basketball court, the main characters are going to like a basketball tournament, and you follow them through the journey of training and all of that, and you can definitely understand and relate because you are also a basketball player. That is how the book feels to me. It feels like the author's personal thoughts and opinions and observations about the publishing industry definitely seeped into the entire story throughout this book and was just wrapped up in a satire package. That does not mean that if you're not a part of the publishing industry that you won't enjoy. What it does mean is that this is a very niche book. So if you are interested in that, then I would definitely read it. If not, and you just want to see a ridiculous plot about a horrible friendship with two very questionable people go wrong and someone just completely steal another person a unalived person not currently with us here. If you want to see them steal someone's work and like follow the plot of how that unravels, because I know that I was just chomping at the bit to see what was happening up until the end, which was disappointing to me, and I will elaborate more on that in the spoiler part of the review, then definitely read it. If not, I mean, you don't really have to read what you want, but at this time, I will be starting my spoiler-filled review. So if you haven't read it, you can pause this, click off, and come back after you've read it, because we need to discuss Juniper. Okay, we need to have a talk about Juniper. Okay, if you're here for spoilers and you're here to talk and here to see a rant, then you've come to the right place, because I could not stand the main character of this book. June, could not stand her. She was so aggravating. She was so aggravating, y'all. I almost threw this book across my living room multiple times because it was very, 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 very clear. And when I mean very clear, I mean from page 3 that June did not like Athena. She could not stand her. And the reasons why she couldn't stand her throughout the book are reasons that she grew into and displayed in herself. And I'm like, girl, the entitlement, Miss Ma'am, the delusion. Like, what are you doing? Do you not see how this looks? Do you not see how this looks? For someone who you call your friend, you are a horrible person to. And I found myself multiple times throughout this book looking up at the sky and being like, listen, whoever's up there, if you see a friend like that, if you see me walking with a friend like that, take them clear out of my life. You don't even have to give me any explanation. It could be just a random event. It could be we followed over a small little thing. But I don't want a friend who is hating me on the inside, but only hanging out with me to benefit from my successes and to be jealous of the successes that she is benefiting from, because Athena pays for everything when they go out. And child, just take them out. Take them out. I don't want them. I don't want them anywhere around me. We're following the events of what happens after June steals the book. And when I tell you that I didn't, like, I read the synopsis and I understood that she stole the book after Athena died, I didn't think that meant literally right after. As in, the girl didn't even, she wasn't even cold yet. It was right after, because I'm pretty sure they were drinking until like the wee hours, and then she was questioned by the EMT. Like, she watched it all happen, called the ambulance. She was questioned by the EMT, then questioned by the police. Goes home at like 4 a.m, drops down into bed, and the manuscript is in her bag. In her bag. Like, I'm just like, ma'am. But how she moves with the manuscript, like after she chops and screws it up and like edits it and complains this whole time about how, Athena was just so into having details and blah blah blah, because she wants to portray a certain story for a certain culture that you are not a part of. Even during the process of her sending it to her editor and then him editing it with her and grabbing another editor from a publishing house after they secured the deal with Eden, and them going through it, and the lady who they describe is also a horrible person, is giving her all of this feedback, and she's just taking feedback, and she's just like, I'm so glad that you're taking all of this feedback, because usually authors don't want you to tear apart their baby like this. Should have been the first red flag to everybody, but they just didn't care. They thought it was a good story and decided, okay, let me just take out some of the really relevant parts of the story that bring across the cultural significance of why we're telling the story in the first place, and just take it out. Let's just, cross it out. And I'm like, girl, you are like, June is telling herself, oh yeah, this is fine, this is okay, like, anything to bring across the story, anything to get Athena's story out there. You're not trying to get Athena's story out there. What you're trying to do is ensure that you get at least one successfully published book, whether or not it was your idea, ma'am. And it's easy for you to do because it's a book about a culture that you don't have anything to do with. So you're okay with cutting out all of the cultural significance of the book because it's not your culture. And that is what is, like, that's the main part of what was pissing me off. That and the fact that it was stolen. Those two things were just grinding my gears. The situation with Candace happened, who is probably the only Asian person at that damn publishing company in the first place, and the Korean editorial assistant. So Candace decided that she wanted to bring forth the idea of getting a sensitivity reader because June, and she's just like, oh, I think that it would be a good idea to have someone who is possibly very strongly of Chinese heritage, Chinese ethnicity, come and read this to make sure that we're not indirectly offending anyone. And June gets so defensive to the point where she basically gets Candace fired, like just coming after her. And I'm like, this is such a dumb thing to witness, because why would you not listen to the person who's probably the most a part of the demographic that's gonna purchase the most volumes of this book? Like, why would you not listen to that person and take in their opinions? But I think that's the point that they were trying to bring across. It was just another thing that really irritated me, and it was the first thing that alerted me to the fact that probably the person who is doing all of the stuff that they were doing, well, this is a spoiler review, the person who was haunting the F out of June was Candace. When we found that out, I figured, because I'm not just gonna sit around here and have you get me fired over me giving you good advice over your novel. Again, Candace was smart, because the same things that she had clocked about June, I had been questioning in my head from reading up until the point where she got her fired over the sensitivity reader. Like, no author is just gonna sit here and agree to every single one of the changes you want to make to their story. Like, all of them, cut out anything you want, do anything you want, adapt it into a movie any way you want, like all of the changes. Okay, girl, you could have at least pushed back on some. Anything, you could have at least pushed back on some. She wasn't trying very hard to hide this secret. June this whole time had me just like, every single time I read about something that her character would do, the only thing going through my head is, girl, be effing for real, man. Be so effing for real right now. Like, you are irritating everything in me. You're jumping on every one of my nerves. Like, she's lying to everyone. She's a hypocrite. She's entitled. She's delusional. Like, delusional. I feel like her entitlement and her delusions were just doing the tango throughout the whole book in her head, because she was insane. But it do be like that sometimes. So but yeah, the only time I must say the only time that I had felt a little bit sorry for June at any point in time in this book, was when she was relaying the story about how in college Athena was the only freshman who got their story published in this really prominent book or magazine that was going throughout Yale. And it was, when she read the story, she was really hurt to find out that it was a scenario, and trigger warning. It was a scenario where June she wasn't really sure if she had been essayed, but it was still messing with her, because that's not a really great thing to like go through and not even be sure if you even went through it. But it was triggering to her. She had a breakdown, and Athena was the one to find her. They had like conversations about it, and she poured her heart out to her to explain how she felt. And Athena basically switched up the names of the characters and put it on display, which goes into a thing that I don't really like about Athena. And it's big enough for me to not actually like Athena's character, even though she doesn't show up for more than 3 chapters. Well, she doesn't show up alive for more than, I think, 2 chapters of this book. I think she may have in the first chapter. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's a thing that I did not like about Athena's character, and it was a huge turn off for me, how she just take other people's pain and experiences and then twist it and write about it and publish it. Because ma'am, I understand telling history and bringing it forward and telling history accurately so that people can understand the suffering that other cultures have gone through, other people have gone through, and so that the stories never die. I understand that. But when you're taking personal experiences from your family, friends, loved ones, partners, and putting those into publications for the world to read without their consent, I don't like that. I did not like that. So that alone had me side-eyeing Athena's character, and it really cemented to me that nobody in this book is really a good person. And everybody kind of got what they deserved. But that brings me to what I absolutely hated about the ending of this book, which is I saw zero consequences of our actions. Like, you know that chart where they have the guy who's just like, oh, if you F around this much, you're gonna find out this much, and is drawing the correlations and everything.
As you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
I wanted to see at the end of this book June face the consequences of her actions, and I didn't get that, and I did not like it. In my honest opinion, I think everybody in this book is either morally gray or just in the wrong. And I don't feel bad for none of them, except for probably Athena, because I don't think that her doing that had warranted her to suffer such a horrible, because I can't even imagine choking on a pancake. But like I don't ever wish for anyone to be, you know, croaked, sailed over to the other side of the river, if you understand. But everyone had their issues, and everyone could have done better. From Athena's mom and sister to the publishing company, to the editor, definitely June. 100% June. Also, Athena's ex-boyfriend, Jeff. Yeah, everybody could have done better, and I was not messing with any of them. I wrote the actual perfect paragraph for me. I could not have strung it in words better in my notes app, so I'm gonna read it for y'all. So it was, I did not like the ending. The repercussions to her actions were not elaborated enough for me. It seems like we're dropped into June's delusions and entitlement that she holds on to until the very end, and we don't see anything but the fact that Candice is releasing a memoir about the events. We see none of the characters get vindication. We don't see if she was dropped by the agency, face fraud or plagiarism charges, lawsuits, etc. We don't see if Athena's mom found out. I refuse to believe her family is so effing oblivious about anything related to writing, but I'm sure they'd find out that she was in the hospital or that she constantly stole work from her deceased friend. I mean, come on. She said it herself, it was going to be national news. Is something not clicking? Because really, is something not clicking? Her family, very unsupportive. Her, Candice, like, I think she's a morally great character because, yes, she was trying to find justice, but it wasn't justice because she thought Athena was stolen from or wronged in any way. It was justice because she got fired for something June did, and she smelled blood in the water, basically. She saw something fishy and capitalized right off of getting vindication. So there's that. I'm not saying that in book world, in like a fiction, absolutely yes. Yes, Candice, you go. girl boss, I guess. But in like real life, no, would not like what she did. But it was such an interesting ending, and I really would have liked to see I would like to see more of like her getting hit with the repercussions, other than, you know, almost trying to fight video footage of you confessing to stealing work from a deceased person, and then tripping over air and falling and like twisting your ankle and breaking a rib or something. Like, I wish the ending was different. But other than that, did enjoy myself throughout the book. If you did, let me know in the comments. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments. Let us have a lovely discussion. And I'll see y'all in the next one. If I get out of this reading slump and actually get on top of my assignments and do what I need to be doing and have time to actually read a book. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!